Seth MacFarlane is back in his famous role of Ted as a very vulgar bear in this new Peacock original TV show called Ted. Is it any good? Let's find out right now.
How bad?
Well, it's like getting your nuts smashed together so hard they become just one nut.
Holy shit.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm a little bit late to the party here, but I decided to review Ted, the new TV show that's out on Peacock, just because we don't have a lot going on right now. This is hopefully going to drop before the Oscar nominations happen, so that's going to hold us over until then. But I was really excited to cover this because the Ted movies mean so much to me. They're like kind of like the first rated R movies that I've seen. They're so funny. So that's just why I wanted to review the show. I know I'm a little bit late. Hopefully that's okay. Before we get started though, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It helps it a lot. I'm going to do you guys a quick plot synopsis just so you know what the TV show is about. It's 1993 and Ted the Bear's moment of fame has passed. He's living back home with his best friend John Bennett and his family. While Ted may be a lousy influence on John, he's a loyal pal who will go out on a limb for friendship. Alright, that's a little bit of plot synopsis here. It is a 7-episode like original series just about John and his high school days with Ted, just how they explore, you know, all the relationships that they have, all like their sexual tendencies that they have, the vulgar things that they do. That's basically the whole premise of the show. It's just a laid back kind of like sitcom. It is a 90s sitcom, takes place, as I said, 1993. And I will say it just goes back to the basics of TV where everything is very, you know, simple. The TV premise of this is quite simple. Small stories here, has some small sets, you know, it's a very cheap show, I would say, because they spent basically all their money on making Ted, you know, the CGI come to life for him, because I think that CGI is quite expensive even for, you know, a 7-episode series. And all the episodes do range in runtime. They're like 30 minutes of 40 some minutes. They're all pretty decently long episodes, so I was very happy about that. They'll have their small contained stories, which I do love a lot. And it does feel like a 90s sitcom because, you know, some shows you watch, they take place in the 90s. You're like, this doesn't really feel like a 90s sitcom. Doesn't feel like something you know, someone would watch back then in the 90s. But this does, you know, it tries to achieve that feel, and I think it does actually work in achieving that feel, which I thought was nice. It added a lot of extra, you know, added a lot of extra style to the show. I did love, you know, some parts because you're spending it with his family, John's family, and all that, his parents and all that, and Ted. But my favorite parts of the show did take place at the school. I thought those were the most hilarious parts of the show. Just the interactions with, you know, John and Ted were just some of the best parts of the show, because you have a lot of, you know, friendship with them, a lot of humanity, but a lot of jokes with them. It's awfully hilarious, and I was just, you know, taking it all in because, you know, as I said, Ted is just such a great character, and Seth MacFarlane really is just one of the, you know, he's a true living legend. He brought the character to life, created the character, he created this show. You know, he's responsible for directing these episodes. He did write a lot of it too. There's a lot of other writers on the show though. But Seth MacFarlane, man, he's just on an all-time run. He's just having fun with his life right now. He's known for Family Guy, American Dad, The Orville, and he sings, man. What can this man not do? Like, he does a lot. He's on one of my favorite Logic songs of all time. He did a Christmas album, and this man just does a lot of great stuff. But he also is just downright funny. Like, what he says as Ted is just some of my favorite stuff. Ted, you know, Ted 1, Ted 2 have some of my favorite, you know, moments in movies that are just so funny. Like, I cannot help it. I think Ted 1 is just something that really introduced me to what like is really funny in a movie. And you know, it can be it can go a little too far at times, go a little too stupid, but I do love that stupid humor, so I think it did work a lot. And just this character of Ted, you know, and Seth MacFarlane just voicing him, he'll go down in history as one of my favorite characters of all time, you know, because he just looks so cuddly, but he's just so vulgar at times, and he is hilarious, and sometimes he's even, you know, hilarious when he's not supposed to be, because it's just funny to look at a teddy bear that's just cursing up a storm, saying the most ridiculous things. I just think it's so funny, and that kind of brings me to the point of Ted 3. I'm really hoping that we do get Ted 3 sometime in the future. I think Seth MacFarlane did say he has no plans to really make Ted 3, but I'm hoping, you know, after the show we get Ted 3, Ted season 2 of this show. That would be really cool, because I did hear that this, you know, this show is the biggest, you know, streaming debut of an original thing on Peacock. I think that's what it was, and that's pretty cool, just because it just shows that Ted is still a big brand. People still want to see him, people still want to watch it. So I'm saying just make Ted 3 and make, you know, Ted season 2. We'll just eat it all up. I'm not sure if Mark Wahlberg would want to come back to this, because Mark Wahlberg's kind of like on this thing where he's just doing like, you know, really faithful stuff, I would say. I don't know if he's going back to this vulgar stuff, but I'd love to see Ted 3. I just want to see Ted in the movie, but if we only get Ted season 2, I'll be happy with that. If the writing stays consistent, I'll be very happy because the writing on this show is really good. I mean, for a show like this, it needs to be good. For any comedy, I think writing is very important on the show, especially comedy in particular, because you got to be funny. If your jokes don't land, then I just won't care about your show. I mean, I'll care about your characters a little bit, but your jokes have to land. And I thought the writing on this was great. Has you care for most of the characters. Some of the characters I didn't really care for, and it is hilarious. Just like 5 minutes when I was watching the first episode when it first came out, I was 5 minutes in. I was just dying of laughing when the family's just talking at the table. Ted is just saying some random stuff as always. It's hilarious. I was like, I was like, this can't get any more funny. And you know, it does. There's some episodes where I think the writing is a little bit weaker. Like it's not as amazing as I want it to be, but I think the writing is still great. Some episodes it really shines. Some episodes it's a little, toned down. But I still thought overall it's very hilarious, and I thought the writing was great. And I do want to talk about Max Burkholder. He plays John. We all know John is played by Mark Wahlberg in the movies. And I totally forgot when I first watched this that Max did also play Max in Parenthood and also in Daddy Daycare. And I totally forgot that he was in these roles, not because he looks totally different. I mean, he did grow up because I haven't seen him in any other stuff since, when he was a kid. I grew up watching, Daddy Daycare. I watched, Parenthood a couple years back, and I totally forgot that this was him. But once I looked at him side by side, I was like, oh yeah, that is him. But I'm, happy that he got another big role like this in Ted. And he did it very good with this role. He's very funny. And, sometimes it's hard for the actors to kind of, fake looking at a bear because they didn't actually get a bear to look at on set. I heard that they did, take home bears just to get used to, the size of it. But they're just looking down at nothing because they add it in post-production. So he's pretty good at that. Everyone's pretty good at that. But he was very funny. I loved his performance as John. He made it his own. He didn't want to be, like Mark Wahlberg in, totally in a total sense because, they're different characters. It takes place years apart. But I did like his performance a lot. He's, my second favorite part of the show because Ted is, of course, my first favorite part of the show. He's, of course, everyone's favorite character. And overall I thought the show worked a lot. It's a very simple show, like I said, takes it back to the 90s sitcom roots. Very funny. Just love the sets in here, and I just love, I love Seth MacFarlane and what he does, just how he makes these funny, hilarious things. And I just love the character as Ted. I think it works a lot. Would love to see a Ted season 2. Would love to see a Ted 3. Let's see what happens next, but I'm gonna give Ted season 1 an 8 out of 10. Easily the best show of the year. Just go check it out if you haven't yet. It's on Peacock, just 7 episodes long. They're pretty short, pretty long. Some of them they range in runtime, but yeah, it's very hilarious. Starts out strong, ends strong, I'd say, and I can't wait to see where Ted the Bear goes next. Let me know down in the comments if you watched it. Did you guys enjoy it? Let me know. Make sure to leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.